All right. So what I have left to talk on in terms of research is just this last case study. And we were only able to get 4 case studies. Fortunately, there was the Northeastern Illinois crime laboratory was able to supply us with 4 cases. So we have 4 case studies. So they were non-probative or adjudicated cases, and the originating crime lab had performed an organic differential extraction during the initial case and attempted 13 core loci. So case A is public masturbation. Tissue paper was recovered from the scene as fairly straightforward case. Case B, C, and D were all sexual assaults, and there were vaginal swabs obtained, and we were able to get cuttings from all of these. So case A, plenty of sperm available, no issue there, but we were trying to still simulate kind of a low copy number scenario. So we collected 30 sperm by laser microdissection. And in the other 3 cases, we were actually extremely difficult locating even any sperm, and we spent a lot of time trying to find sperm, maybe only a couple on each case. So we were kind of forced to modify our protocol. So I'm going to warn you right now is that these case studies isn't really a great test for the laser microdissection system, but it does provide some information of how it can be used to help analyze cases. Because we ended up modifying the protocol because we could not find enough sperm. So what we ended up doing is we took the cell pellet that we had and we did what we called a mini lysis. So we kind of did a little cheat, and we did a very quick, like 15, 30-minute gentle lysis and did just 1 wash just to get rid of a lot of the E cells. That took us about like half an hour just to do that. And then we pelleted that. And then right away, we were able to find sperm to analyze. And still, there weren't a lot of sperm in these cases. So we ended up collecting about 18 to 30 sperm each case and then performed low copy number analysis. And probably in your PowerPoints, you can't see this, but again, if you want to look at this in more detail, it will be on the website that you can download. And I don't want to go into each loci in detail. That's pretty boring, but we'll just quickly go over each case. So case A, on the left, right, use the pen. So the original preferential lysis results, no surprise on almost what we would probably consider neat semen stain since it was tissue paper. They had a full profile. We got the same results. So in that particular case, they were the same. Case B I'm going to come back to in a moment. So we'll move on to case C. So case C, the original differential extraction that was performed, they only got a partial profile. When we performed the analysis using LMD and that mini lysis procedure, we were able to get what appears to be a full profile. And also, we just kind of, there wasn't actually a victim exemplar. This case C victim exemplar, this is just the type from the differential extraction, the E cell fraction. But it didn't appear that there was any contamination into the laser microdissected sample. So that was good news. There's actually improved results in that particular case. But we look at case D, okay, case D, the original preferential lysis results, a pretty good profile, some dropout, some loci didn't show up. Fortunately, in this one, when we did it, we only got a partial profile. So in that particular case, we actually got worse results. So far, we have 1 case that we have similar results, 1 case that we had improved results, and 1 case that we actually didn't get as good of a result as the original case. But let's look at case B, because that's a little interesting. It originally was a mixture. So the original results are here. Pretty clear mixture. And the ones that are highlighted in red are carryover from the female fraction. Put the male exemplars there so you can look at that. And so unlike the first chart, I actually added another column here. Remember I told you that the first time I looked at these slides, I had a really hard time finding sperm. But I did attempt, I was able in this one to collect 10 sperm the first time out before doing the mini lysis. And I only got a partial profile. In addition, I don't know exactly what this is. Was that coming from the female donor? It's really hard to say. And this was also at all very low RFU levels. Yeah. Okay, the double, I'm sorry, it's on here. The double star I had indicated before that possibly it could have been from the female. Yeah.
Weren't any like below threshold type of peaks?
I'm sorry.
Below threshold peaks
Yeah.
that you could see,
Yes,
but weren't called?
The 13 came up. No, I'm sorry. I'm specifically talking about the 13. The 13 is not from the male donor.
Okay, yeah.
So it's kind of a question mark in where did that come from. But after the mini lysis procedure that I performed, I was able to collect 30 sperm rather quickly and almost a full profile. I think I only had, see on number 17, oh not 17, D3 and D7 I did have dropout. But other than that, a nice profile. So the question is, and something that I'll ask you, what would you rather have? Would you rather have on the left a full mixture like that and all the alleles represented, or far on the right, just the sperm profile, the male profile with maybe just a couple of alleles dropped out? But in my mind, I think I'd rather have a profile, nearly full profile of the male donor without any mixture. So in my mind, I think these are improved results. So in summary, in this very small case study, not mine, I believe that we really need to do a large case study and in a forensic laboratory. We were kind of limited with even the amount of sample we had left over in this case that they gave us. So we couldn't go back and try again or kind of see if we can get improved results. In case A, they were similar. The results from preferential lysis. Case B and C, we actually got improved results using LMD. And case D, worse results. So, I'm somewhat satisfied, considering this was the first time out, we even attempted casework, that LMD can be used to improve casework. And hoping that, Louisiana, I'm sure, is going to eventually do more case studies and see even what type of cases are best suited for this type of analysis. And again, I wrote this so that to remind you that I did alter the protocol compared to what you did in the lab. We did that mini lysis step to get improved results. And a larger case study population is needed, obviously, for validation. And this is the kind of the research team, myself, Dr. Peterson in the lab. My lab tech, Emily, was a really hard worker. Nick, he did a lot of the capillary electrophoresis on this before I had any grant money. Jack Ballantyne was really useful. And also Kenneth Fosser at the Northern Illinois Regional Crime Lab. He's the one who actually did all the differential extractions and provided the case study samples. And I put this last. Does anyone, this is graphically enhanced, but does anyone know what that picture is? Yeah. I just like to put that up there because that's the logo for the university that Rosalind Franklin took. So, are there any questions? Comments? How do people feel about, I know this was just a little kind of example of case studies. Do you feel like it's still, you're optimistic about its use? Okay.
I'm curious about the mixtures, though. Were they resolvable mixtures, like major, minor, or were they unresolvable mixtures?
There was the female fraction was a minor component. I didn't actually go in there and try to do kind of an analysis. Could you separate it out? Because all I got from them was this kind of a electropherogram, and I could just kind of visually look to see the major minor components. But I personally didn't do a full analysis. It'd be interesting if I can go back and actually tell them what was your final report. I didn't get their final reports, what they determined the major, if it was in fact major minor components.
Brings up a good point. How many people in this room, their policy in their lab is if there's a discernible major and minor contributor, do they deduce the major or deduce out the minor, get the major, and then do statistics on the major? How many people in here do that? Everybody. Okay.
Yeah, because I know some people might be very conservative and just do an entire calculation of the mixture.
Yeah, some people, if they're conservative, will still do a likelihood ratio, but I think for the most part, people are leaning the way you all are. I think now,
At least
I
attempting.
think people are more, if they can, they'll do that major contributor and do a straight calculation.
And I assume, I assume it's a lot more time consuming. It's been a while since I've done that.
It
But
depends. I think it
can be
depends.
time consuming
I think it depends.
for it to determine the major minor components.
Likelihood ratios, I think, is more complicated.
Yeah, likelihood ratio is
And
kind of a
probability
pain.
of exclusion is more complicated
Yeah.
than to do a deduction.
Now, when you deduce like the major minor component, is it just based on, well, it's high, it's higher or lower? Or is that a statistical calculation you do to basically say, yes, I believe this is a minor component, I believe this is a major component, or is it just kind of subjective?
Well,
Nope, we don't do any statistics. It's more of a feel of the entire profile. And,
It's
and
a
the
general feel?
differences.
Same here.
Okay.
But we won't, try to figure out the percentage of the difference, that type of stuff.
Okay.
We actually do.
Yeah,
In our
we
lab.
do.
We do
You
calculations.
do
yeah,
an actual calculation.
On
We
both
do
sides.
well, and I think the difference too is if you were doing mostly intimate samples are the easiest ones because you generally will have that victim profile that okay, her cells are here and you can kind of go by that. But if it's a true unknown from a crime scene and a mixture, that's a whole different story because you really have to just blindly decide, okay, is there a major contributor? What's the ratio of the major to the minor? And do it like that. But, of course, the majority of these LMD samples will probably be like vaginal swab types. But, of course, there will be maybe sheets or, underwear or something. So it'll be interesting to see.
Another thing to consider is the fact that the expert systems now that are out there, like the iCubed and Mark Perlin's software, they're actually able to deduce two-person mixtures and give you weighted averages as to each locus. So that's something to consider.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering if there's.
Yeah,
more.
they're actually pretty. I think Mark can actually do three-person mixtures now
Okay.
with his System 3.
I haven't even seen those yet. I haven't.
All right. So what we're gonna have Pat talk first, just like the kind of schedule shows. It's supposed to be like 9:15 is when Pat talks about advanced LMD forensic applications. Just so you know, he is also, after he talks about that, he's going to jump into his other lecture on fluorescence, which is normally would have been at 12:45. So he's going to do his lectures back to back. We changed that because I think he was saying it's going to be better to have all the information about fluorescence before we go into the lab.